A pattern has emerged over the 100-some-odd days of the Trump administration. When a self-created crisis or a scandal emerges, change the subject, even if the new headline is less than flattering.
Donald didn't change the party. He revealed something about it. And it's, white people don't want to hear this, and even allies don't like facing this stuff, and I get it, but it's time to own up to the fact that we are here because not only have we never atoned for our original sins, we've never properly acknowledged them, and now Republicans want to erase them entirely. And part of that, it's not just the original sins of enslaving an entire race of people and destroying an entire other race of people, but it's not owning what white people in America have gained from the advantage of white supremacy and white privilege. And I think when you confront people that directly, they get defensive.
Yeah. Very much so.
And that's the problem. It's like, okay, you're not responsible. Nobody here is responsible for what happened 400 years ago. Those people are long dead. But that doesn't mean that we haven't benefited from the system that continues to this day to operate in America. And Michael, I think that more than anything else is what keeps us on the precipice of losing everything, not because of people on the right, but because people who really do believe in American democracy aren't willing to face issues head on because it hurts their feelings or something.
No, but this exchange, so Bret Baier confronted Trump with a plea from a loyal supporter who said she wasn't happy with rising prices, only for the president to insist the opposite was true and prices are way down. As you keep saying, this is not going to work. People go to the grocery every week. They pay their health insurance premium. It was a North Carolina retiree who said she's voted for Trump 3 times previously, warned she did not see the best economy now, begged him, please do something, President Trump. And so Trump said, beef, we have to get way down. I think groceries is an old-fashioned word. Oh my, this again with the. Anyway, but he just flatly
so out of touch.
That's
with
not
the
going
day-to-day lives of most
telling
Americans.
voters they're liars. I think is not going to be a good message, right?
No, you cannot gaslight people into believing that the economy is strong. And I'll tell you, I did another Sirius XM show with a conservative radio host a couple weeks ago, and he started listing off different highly selected items that were less expensive than they were a year ago. And my argument to him was this: you can cherry pick the numbers any way that you want, but ask somebody who's balancing a household budget if their paycheck is going as far as it was a year ago, and they'll tell you the answer to that is no. Ask somebody in this job market if it's easier or harder to get a job right now. They'll tell you it's a lot harder. So you just can't gaslight people. Anything economically is a daily indignity for people. And by the way, Democrats had to learn that same lesson last year. Now, we didn't gaslight people. We kept making very heavy-minded arguments and go, 49 out of 50 Nobel laureate economists say the economy is the envy of the world. It doesn't matter what a Nobel laureate economist says. It doesn't matter what the president of the United States says. If my paycheck doesn't go far enough, if I can't buy a house, put food on the table, retire with dignity, take a vacation, I'm going to blame the party in power, period.
And all the conventional wisdom, Mike, all the punditry we had to endure after 2024, Democrats have lost young men forever. They're back. They were all back Tuesday. They all voted for female candidates. I mean, and I think Nicole Wallace makes this point a lot, that, one of the most emasculating things is for men is not being able to pick up the check, pay for anything, So in that way, I mean, it's sort of all tied together. I mean, you just said, good effing morning to everyone except Republican politicians, operatives, and MAGA influencers who are coping so hard after getting their asses handed to them in basically every election yesterday. Maybe, just maybe, you're not as effing popular as you think you are. I mean, right? They keep saying our policies are working, our policies are popular. And America, that was one huge FU Tuesday, wasn't it?
No, I mean, it was a full throttle rejection of MAGA, full throttle rejection of Trump. Go look at, New Jersey is the perfect example of this, because Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican candidate, could not have bear hugged Donald Trump more over the course of the last year, and he lost by 13 points. And that's the number I think that should scare the Republican Party the most, because New Jersey is, yes, it's a blue state. Yes, they've got, 2 Democratic senators, et cetera. But it's a state that was really close 4 years ago. Phil Murphy only won by about 3 or 4%. So compared from 4 years ago, now you're seeing an 8 to 9 point swing, a 10-point swing to Mikey Sherrill, who ran, by the way, a great campaign. And there were a lot of people who complained about Mikey Sherrill and complained about her campaign, and those people need to fill out an apology form.
Thank you.
Brush.
Yeah.
But I would be scared to death, because if you see a 9 to 10 point swing in New Jersey. If that played out in Texas, in Alaska, in Iowa, we're going to take back the Senate. And that's, again, predicated on the idea that things don't get worse than they are right now. And I think we have not experienced the worst of this economy yet.
Yeah, sadly. Mike, you must be so thrilled, as I am, as someone who was in the thick of the 2024 fight, that we're taking back all these issues. The woman that lost in Virginia, who ran that same anti-trans play, right? Mandami bear-hugged trans people, right? Governor Beshear in Kentucky didn't throw trans people under the bus. So all these issues we were told we lost on and we'll never win again on, right? Just got turned on its head Tuesday.
Well, on the trans stuff in particular, I feel like the Republican Party doesn't understand why that ad that Donald Trump ran last year worked. The they-them ad, for people that don't remember, there was an ad that talked about, it was an obscure Kamala Harris quote, and then talking about how she's for they-them, not us.
Right.
The reason that ad worked is it reinforced the narrative about Democrats. Look at the focus group polling. Look at the actual polling. People will tell you, at least in this last year, they don't know who the Democratic Party, what the Democratic Party stands for. They don't know who they're fighting for. So when you can create an ad that shows Kamala Harris fighting for somebody else, even if it's trans people, and yes, it's transphobic and it's gross and disgusting, they were othering Kamala Harris. Yeah. They were redirecting it and saying she's not going to fight for you. That's why it works. All these Republican candidates in this midterm election, or in this off-year election, they ran these ads that were not about that. They were just crapping on trans people and being really gross about it, and that doesn't work. We've seen that in election over time. So now that they're in charge, people are pretty frustrated. Those tactics just don't work anymore.
I know you were a senior advisor to Kamala, and as you know, I will die mad. But I also just want to say she ran very much to me in the way Mandami did. She was a joyful warrior. It was a lot of the same reaching out to everybody kind of thing. And I'm telling you, there is a misogyny problem in America that we have to deal with because
I mean that's very real. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. I do think though, like she was dragged down by Biden's record. You just kind of have to acknowledge that the economy was not in good shape over the last couple of years.
Compared to now.
Way worse now, to be clear. Well, it's way worse now. It's like Donald Trump sort of found like a smoldering fire that we were close to putting out, and then you just dump gasoline all over it.
Yeah.
But she got dragged down. The challenge of being the vice president is you sort of own the record of your boss, basically, and that sucks for Kamala. And it should always be noted, she was given 107 days to campaign for president.
That's
not fair. The worst position anyone's ever been put in.
This is why I feel this whole postmortem, Mike. I always feel like everybody's right and everybody's wrong. The people that say Biden should have gotten out sooner, I take their point, but I mean I do think that him getting out when he did was disastrous for Kamala, for all of us. I was of that we shouldn't have pushed him out. But you know what I mean? You can be where, yes, but if he had gotten out much sooner and we had a primary, I don't know, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I was someone who believed that we should have pushed him out. And I think that was largely the right call. Like if you looked at the polling that I was seeing, we were on track to lose states like New Jersey and New Mexico.
But to Lawrence O'Donnell's point, not that late. Nobody has ever won that had. I mean, as you say, 100
No,
days.
but I think the way I would frame it is like, I think Nancy Pelosi, by the way, retiring today, an absolute legend.
Yep.
If you spoke to her like a year ago when this decision was being contemplated by the party, it was like, look, we can either lose potentially by 15 in the general, and Republicans, imagine just a scenario where Donald Trump had 58 Senate seats. How much worse that would be.
Yeah.
Like Matt Gaetz would be attorney general.
Oh, yeah.